I'll be with you for the next 2 hours. My name is Mapaseka Mokwele. I'll be with you. Bongani laughs. I'll be with you for the next 2 hours, and we're talking about GBV. A very, very important discussion that we're having this evening. And this is why we decided to have it as a 2-hour conversation, talking about the role that men can play in making sure that GBV comes to an end. If you've heard the promos that we were playing, we were saying that South Africa has been named as one of the top, the highest in terms of GBV. That's appalling. That's horrible. And that's scary. It's scary because we live in a world where just walking down the road, you're not sure what you're going to encounter. So it's scary to walk down the road, but even worse, there's a lot of people who are even scared to be inside the house. So we want to bring it home and talk about it openly and say, because we know that this is happening and because we know how it's happening, why is it happening? That's what we want to know, and how then can we change it? Maybe the why will tell us where we need to be looking in terms of stopping. And that's the biggest thing. So welcome to the SABC. For those who are joining us in the auditorium, Radio Park Auditorium, thank you very much for making time to be with us. And for those who are joining us on Facebook, on our Radio 2000 Facebook page, and on our YouTube channel, and I think on X. I almost said on Twitter, but we'll say X. For those of us who are joining on all those platforms, thank you very much as well for joining us and for being with us this evening. I hope you'll also be able to engage. We will be taking your messages as well. I'll make sure that I go through all your messages and we can have an interesting discussion. South Africa has a GBV crisis. I would love to put it in a better way, but this is actually a crisis. It is in our homes, it is in our schools, it is in our workplaces, it is in our churches. It is everywhere. In all our spaces, everywhere. It's with strangers, it's with people that we love and trust. It is just everywhere. It's a scourge. As we talk about ending all other scourges, this is one that we need to talk about and also work on ending urgently. So tonight we ask the question, what is the role of men in ending gender-based violence? I want to also put it out there that we are asking what the role of men is, purely because we know that in more cases than not, the perpetrators are men. That said, please understand that we are not saying that men cannot be abused. So we also understand the fact that men are also victims. We are very clear on that one as well. In this instance, we want to find out what the role of men is in ending gender-based violence. I have very interesting guests with me in the studio. We're not in the studio, hey, in the auditorium.
Our created
no, can I call it a studio?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I have very interesting guests with me in the studio. I've got Bongani Luvalo, who's always with me on a Monday evening. Bongani, he always forces me to call him an award-winning author, so I'll say it again.
GBV.
Bongani is an award-winning author. He is also the founder of Cool Dads Foundation. He joins us on Monday Men Day. That is usually on a Monday evening at 8 p.m., between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. I have on my left-hand side, Mbulelo Mayikana, who is an author of many books. I would sit here for a while if I was to read all the books that he has authored. But one of them is called Gender-Based Violence. He's also the founder of Contemporary Conversations. And then I have, on my far right, so ke kopa permission ya ho dicho kaofela. I am joined on my far right by Ntate Doctor. That's right. Ntate Dr. Mofokeng wa Makhetha. Thank you very much for joining us. I will have two other guests who will be joining us just after the 8 o'clock hour, the 8 o'clock news. We will take 8 o'clock news. So just after the 8 o'clock hour, we'll have other guests, so we'll swap guests. Bongani will stay with me for the next 2 hours because, yeah, good tough. But yeah, he's here. Guys, thank you very much for making time to be here. Bongani, let me start with you.
Sure.
Why is it that we talk about GBV, but it seems to just continually be on the rise in the country? What's going on?
Yeah, besides that, I was earlier GBV'd. I'm not saying I'm not naming people. But I thought I must start there. Yes, the guilty ones are always afraid. My English teacher used to teach me that. But two things I'll pass. Yeah. Two things. I think generally South Africa as a society is a non-accountable society. We do not hold each other accountable for our actions, for our thoughts, lack of action, and it has just become okay. So you can wake up at 10 when you're supposed to be at work at 8.
And it's okay.
It's okay. So on more serious things, like having to ensure that the environment that our kids, our brothers, our sisters, our aunts and uncles find themselves living in are safe. Because if somebody will steal a TV and no one will hold him accountable. And actually he just passes here with it. And then we're going to say the law or the police. My former boss used to say, it's not the responsibility of the law enforcement agencies to teach people how to behave. Their job is to enforce the law, and society must teach its people how to behave.
Now, here's the thing, Moen. I want to know where it went wrong, or where we went wrong as a society. And I'm asking this because if it's getting worse by the day, let Mofokeng come in. Mbulelo, please feel free to come in. I want to understand, where is it that we went wrong? At which point there was a point and a time when men were accountable for their behavior and for their families. So when did that change? What happened? What was the transition? And is that what has led to not only the lawlessness that we see, but also just the violence that we're seeing?
Here, Auspas, men have stopped holding each other accountable.
Have they ever?
Yes. There's what we call Horoyaban. Right. So men in a village would take their jackets and tell their wives, their kids, that the chief has called men of this village.
Yes.
Ne? And in that horror, you would be discussing whether there is drought, or somebody has decided to steal somebody's cattle, or somebody has decided to force themselves into a woman, or has impregnated somebody's daughter without paying lawful. So that was the space where men were holding each other accountable. But unfortunately, our society has become so westernized that family has become me, my wife, and my 2 kids, and the immediate grandparents.
That's all good and well. And we say that, and I hear you. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I want to understand. We are saying we have become too westernized and all, and this is what we use it as an excuse. But when it suits us, we also then turn around and say, as the man of the home and of the house, I can teach my family. I must show my family direction. And when is it that as a man you can do this and then it changes, it switches very quickly thereafter? Let him forget.
Ke kopa ho starta ka lentswe lena le sebediswang, sometimes abused. It's called patriarchy. My understanding of that is you excuse men for their misdemeanors, for their unacceptable actions, behavior, simply because of their gender.
So you're excused.
You're excused simply because of your gender. Now, I want to say we are all responsible for teaching the boy child that it's okay for him to do certain things, not to do certain things. He will be 3 years old, and the sister is 6 years old. And the sister must clean after herself and not him.
But he doesn't have to.
And in many ways, the girl is taught responsibility, but not the boy.
Maybe let me ask a different question. What happens when you guys have discussions? When you guys hold parties or braisnyana? You know, every time we go to a bride, I shouldn't say every time because my husband's here and he's going to just now try look at things differently. I didn't mean that. Skanka siras. Mare. I'm just saying, hore, when we go out, when people go out to parties. Okay, all right.
There is a miseducation, both in the conscience and in the mind, of what malehood, manhood, responsibility and accountability is. And it goes all the way until adulthood, which is why we have big boys, may mass haze. Okay?
Umamam.
And all that.
It's saying umamam.
Umamam.
Yeah, umamam.
Okay? And one example I'll quote, Mapaseka. Ka weekend ya lenyalo, the lady is taken to the dining room and taught, absolute waste of time, taught how to be a woman, a mother, a wife, and everything. Those 90 minutes. What she is on Friday night is what she is on Sunday night. You're wasting your time. But where does the man go? To a bachelor party.
This is true.
All right? So, in a lot of ways, we donate our problematic sons to their wives.
And this is where the problem is. So, I definitely hear you.
Okay.
And I want us to talk about that part where, again, for me, it's a separate discussion in a sense that where we are now saying, how are we going to raise these young'uns?
Yes.
Better.
Yes.
Because we can't be talking, but we're not making a difference, especially with these young'uns.
Yes.
We've got to be saying to the young ones, you are 5 years old.
But we must change the curriculum, all of us.
What are you doing in the house? When?
Yes.
And that's important.
Yes.
But I want to know what happens when we go out. When a lot of people go out, you find ladies are usually sitting over there by themselves having discussions. What do you guys talk about when it's men together? Do you guys ever talk about, hey man, you know, Ubanbani was rape that girl or so and so? You cannot tell me. I find it very odd that there's a lot of men will never say, I know somebody who does this. Most men will be like, hey, it happens over there. It's like Anbaz. Where does this thing happen? I want to understand. Or what's happening? Mbulelo. Oh, am I too close? He says he's like, hey, don't do it.
I think Mapaseka, you're right. We don't discuss those things. I think a number of us, possibly we are in circles where we don't have people that we know that do that. Now,
you don't have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So I think maybe that's why when we have brides, we would not necessarily have those discussions. But I think one of the things that I want us to also acknowledge as we have this session is that I am totally against a narrative that looks at men as some defective creature or creatures of nature whose sole purpose is to destroy women. That's wrong. I think it is important when we look at issues around gender-based violence to go beyond the rhetoric and actually look at key issues and real issues in terms of, firstly, do we have consensus in terms of what do we really mean when we talk about gender-based violence? And what are the causes of gender-based violence?
What
and
do you
also
mean?
How does it...
Hold on. Backtrack.
Yes.
What do you mean do we have consensus when we talk about GBV?
That's the thing, because...
As in, you mean at this moment we might not be understanding and agreeing what GBV is?
Yeah. You see,
school me,
it's important. This is a very important question that you're asking. Because when it suits certain individuals, they would actually, I mean, I was in a session not long ago, 3 days of, no, not 3 weeks ago, with someone who is a learned person, a clinical psychologist. And I asked this person and say, the lady points at another person, a man, a partner, and when she's angry and talks like this, with the finger coming to the forehead.
Right.
Now, I asked the psychologist and say, if it was a man doing that, what would you call it? And she said, GBV. And I said, if it's her, what do you call it? She said, disrespect.
Not GBV.
Not GBV. So it is important, therefore, that when we then look at gender-based violence and we try and define it, let's make sure that we have a consensual understanding in terms of what we mean by gender-based violence.
Describe GBV for me, or give me your definition of GBV. Yes.
My GBV, my understanding of my GBV.
No, you don't own it, please.
Yeah.
Don't take it and own it. Yeah.
Let me not own it. Maybe it's because I wrote a book
Yes,
about it. So
my
that's the
GBV.
reason. My view of GBV, it is violence that is muted against people based on their gender. And the reason why it's being done or it's being inflicted, it is because maybe of a particular reason in terms of your gender. And in my instance, for instance, I know historically, you would then find that GBV is actually defined as violence that is inflicted especially to women because of their subordination in terms of the society.
Okay.
That's the definition. But the way that I look at it now, I'm not sure if that definition still stands 100%. Because like you said when we started, GBV is not something that is only done by males only. But you did mention that obviously a number of cases that are reported are those that are being done by men.
Yes.
And I think in terms of solving GBV, I think we need to move beyond the emotional rhetorics and look at the reasons for GBV.
So what are the reasons?
Both socially influenced reasons and biologically influenced reasons. So
Mofokeng has mentioned patriarchy as one of the big ones, right?
Yes.
So what's yours?
No. I agree with patriarchy.
Okay.
But if we had time, we would even go to that patriarchy.
Okay. Let me do this. Let me stop you right there.
Okay.
Let's go for a quick break,
Okay.
and then we'll come back. This is me forgetting that we are kind of on air. I'm not in the studio again, so I'm forgetting what we must parent. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be back just after this. I need to have the mic in my hand. The plan now is about 17 to go until 8 o'clock. Remember, at 8 o'clock, we've got the news, right? And then just after the news, we'll continue with our discussion. For now, though, we're going to take another quick break at about 10 to. So in the next few minutes, we'll continue with our discussion. Remember, we've also got roving mics, on either side. So if you would like to add to the conversation, please feel free to just raise your hand and somebody will come to you with a mic so that you can be part of the conversation. But Mbulelo, you wanted to answer my question.
I wanted to talk about, you asked me as to what are the causes of
Yes.
gender-based violence. And Adejeri did talk about patriarchy.
Yes.
And I think maybe one day we do need to talk about this patriarchy that we sometimes talk about, as to whether is it a product of socialization or is also a product of nature. So I would like us to talk about, let me talk about another reason for gender-based violence, poverty. Poverty does play quite a big role in terms of gender-based violence, especially in instances wherein you find that there is someone that is dependent on someone in a relationship. Now, let me explain what I mean. Most of the gender-based violence that you would find in some communities comes from a point where, because I provide, I feel that I own you.
There's the flip side to that. There's the flip side to that. There's a lot of men who are doing amazing. So there's no poverty there.
Yeah.
And even their partners are doing well.
Yeah.
But there is still GBV.
Yeah.
So what would be the cause there? The cause is not poverty there.
Yeah.
The cause is what you mentioned. Was it yesterday or Monday when we were talking? What we were talking about? Was it Monday? When you mentioned this innate, and I'm not a man, so I wouldn't know, but the innate manness that has to come out.
Yeah.
And therefore, if a woman is now doing well and you feel she's at your level, you can't handle it. And therefore, the only way you can exert power is using your fists.
Yeah.
So is that where you're going with this?
Yeah. No. That's not where I'm going.
Okay.
I want to strictly talk about poverty situations.
What about those that are not in poverty situations?
No. Allow me to talk about those that are in poverty. I understand what you're saying, that there are others who would still inflict pain on women, especially when I'm talking about men, not because there's poverty. I understand that.
Power dynamics.
Power dynamics, I understand that. But there are instances where you would find that because maybe the female is not working in terms of the home and the man is the one that is working, and he feels therefore he is entitled to certain things, and even in terms of what to direct her to do. I'm entitled to you, I'm entitled to your body, I'm entitled to everything that you do. Okay. So that is another cause of gender-based violence. And this is why in some instances you would find that, for instance, some people feel like slaves in relationships. But I want to repeat again, this it's not something that only applies to only between males and females, where a male is the one that is the provider. It does happen also when it's a female that is the provider.
I want us to, and I know, Bongani, you want to add to this, and I'd like you to, but also just something to ponder on. I want us to talk about what actually our marriage institution, is that fuel for GBV? Is this what we're saying? Because of the patriarchy, because of the power dynamics, because of the innate manness that comes with it. Therefore, I am a man, I should be able to. I am entitled to all of this. And therefore, you can't tell me, and therefore that becomes, I will then tell you, I can do as I please. So something to ponder on, and we'll come back to that point. Bongani, you wanted to add?
Probably the only thing I'll agree with Mbulelo is that we should find consensus of men's behavior and ask the question, is the behavior correct and what we want as men in society? In the midst of what's happening in Israel and Palestine, Muslims and Hindus and so on, there's a code amongst men that you do not allow a man to look at a woman he's not married to. because of
Hashtag nonke.
so it's a
Nonke. Before hashtag nonke.
so because of it's that thing that we do not know. We don't want to find out what is the worst you can do after the look. Amazulu athini oyishayile. You understand? So we don't even want to get to akakayiwosi.
Yo. Oyosile. Akakayidle. Oyidlile.
Udle kuqala. No, it's
udle kuqala. Oh, I thought udle kuqala. I was like, oh, okay. Okay.
So and it comes to this question, and unfortunately we will not be able to address these things as Mapaseka if we continue to off-ramp. Because we're asking, what will it take amongst us as men sitting here for this behavior, whether it's done by a man who is employed or unemployed, a man who is short or tall, a man who is fat or slender? Because of it comes to the behavior. Is this behavior the one we want in our society? And I think if we find consensus that Mbulelo there, then any other thing will arrive at a point by umfazun kombile and kom. Because of, a man would not do it because of he knows that the consensus is that in our society we do not allow you to even turn with your finger towards her.
Okay. Let's take another break. Right there.
Is it that heavy?
Time flies. Because you see, what you're talking about, if we had time, we would really need to get into it. Really need to get into it. Because one thing that I want to talk about is that we as men, we are responsible for a number of situations that we find ourselves in, where we end up committing. And this is one of the things that what we don't find ourselves in situations where we are in situations where we end up committing gender-based violence because we put ourselves in those situations. So this is what I for example in the time in Gaza we're not supposed to find ourselves in those situations in the first place.
All right, so we go on with the show. Thank you very much for staying with us right here on a Radio 2000. This is a Life, Love and All, and we are talking about gender-based violence. We've got a 2-hour special happening today, and we are talking about the role of men in ending gender-based violence. We talk about this quite a lot. We talk about GBV a lot, and we talk about, we see it, it's happening, and we seem to be making a noise on the fact that it's happening. I think that's we know now that it's happening. Now we've got to get to a point where we are saying, right, now, how do we change it? how do we make it better for the other gender? How do we make it better? And please note, I did not say the weaker gender. It was by choice. I chose my words very carefully there. The other gender. Because the fact that we might not be as muscular, or we might not, that for me doesn't hold water. That actually says, for me, my little child, I protect with everything because I know that she can't or he can't take care of himself when he's that small. So it shouldn't be that you're saying, because Mina, I have power over you, I'm now going to abuse you. It should be the other way around. It should be saying, I'm going to protect you with everything that I have because I know that you do not have that power. That's where we should be. Bongani, you wanted to finish your point just very quickly, and then we'll take...
So in the Hindu and Islamic auspars, when we watch Gugu looking at a girl and he's not married to, us, whether it's your friends or men who are looking at you doing that, ours is to punish you physically and tell you that this kind of behavior is not accepted in society because we don't even want to know after looking what will you do. So if we can allow a man to pass a comment, upagile, ne? Amongst us were four, and no one says, but what business do you have in hepatox? You know? So those are the things that we as men need to hold each other accountable and even go as far as having to punish each other.
I'm going to, as we go along, just give you examples of things that we go through as women. Right? The other day I came home and I was complaining. I'm a runner. You go out for a run. Let me tell you, from upagile to pegalendo. And no, don't pegalendo. Don't do it. Why are you pegaring lendo? Do you understand? It's not, this lendo is not just a thing. I'm a fully fledged human being. I'm a woman. I'm somebody's mother. Why do you think it is okay to, number one, look at me like that? Number two, make a comment loud enough for me to hear it. Therefore saying to me, uzongenzani. That's literally saying to me, uzongenzani. So that's saying to me as a woman, actually, you're lucky siyakhuluma nje. Because this will happen. You're running. You're a group of 4 girls. And there's 4 men. The other day, I had a guy who sebenza as security guard. Adlula. What he gave me? Hey, Mamkwele. Ya, pakile. I got home. I was livid. But what can I do? And then I told my husband, and he was like, "Assimilate." And I was like, whoa, hold on. Because yena ngiyafuna nimlande mara ngifuna nimlande kungasho ngomina. Yena makalandwe mara kungasho ngomina. Mara yena makalandwe. Tsabo.
Thank you. Children live what they grow.
Yes.
So all adults here were children at some point.
Yes.
The language they heard in their households makes them who they are.
Yes.
So once we start by accepting horrible language
in the house,
we are already designing the DNA of the future of the child. Radio does that. Our music does that. Our TV stations do that. Our TV shows do that. Our print does that. They'll write an F and asterisk and the K at the end thinking that we're all stupid. So it manifests in the thoughts, it becomes words, it becomes actions. Now, if you grow up in a household where whoever the mother or the father does not even tolerate the word half of your problems are done. But when you tolerate little things, you're done. That's the end of it.
Sure.
That's the end of it. So when
hold on. Dude.
Askisi, when they call them that, it's a reflection of where they come from.
That is so true.
Now, the reason the society seems to be the same as if they have one family is because they do indeed have one family. It's media.
But
now, hold on, just quickly. When media calls all of it that way, everybody hears it at the same time, and very few people complain, and they'll be shut down. So it'll be treated as a norm, as acceptable. That's one. Two, there's too many gray areas. When you say GBV, automatically it sounds like it's violence against women by men. Violence is violence.
Finish.
Because that guy can say, maybe hana vocab ya go mo araba back. The adrenaline be pampa because hana guidance of where he comes from, and then he resorts to violence. He experienced emotional or verbal violence, or financial violence, or even sexual violence. Maybe she said, because the stories they didn't add, because Mr. 2-minute man, better face, and then he's not right, he's not correct, but neither is she.
But does it make
So can we all call it violence? And we must break it down. There's too many gray areas. Verbal violence, emotional violence, and physical violence. That way everybody will feel your number.
There's actually 6 types. We've
List
got
them.
physical, verbal, psychological, sexual, domestic, and then there's a harassment
Financial.
and sexual. And financial, 7. But no, hold on. The 6th one would be socioeconomic, which your financial would fall into.
So violence is violence.
Violence is violence.
So we should stop calling it GBV. It must be violence.
I agree with you and I hear you. So violence will continue being violence. How do we stop this violence? The language. It's 8 o'clock now. It's time for the news. Can you believe it? I think this is what we're going to do. We're going to take the news, but I want us to continue this discussion here. I will recap for our listeners who are listening at home and those who are on our live streams. We will, in fact, the live stream will continue. Yeah, the live stream will continue. But if you're listening on the radio, I will recap when we come back just after the news. It's news time. Okay, so the news is going on. We can continue with our discussion. We had number 2 here, and then the 3rd one was here, and then there was one at the back. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, colleagues, friends. I think there are too many layers that have been touched on for us to do justice to the subject. And unfortunately, we do not have enough time to be able to attend to each of those layers. But I'll just try to address a few. First and foremost is just getting back to the issue of what the problem is. And we all know that in order to address or solve a problem, you need to know what it is. And in this case, we're talking about gender-based violence. Yes, indeed, it has subforms, like your violence against women, which will then include domestic violence. But then you also have your IPV, intimate partner violence, that is between intimate partners, which is more than just domestic violence, because domestic violence can be even between people who are brother and sister,
Yes.
siblings.
Yes.
Yeah. And when we problematize gender-based violence and understand it, because that is where the consensus lacks, and in South Africa, we don't even have a crime called gender-based violence. We don't have it. And that is the first problem that we're having, because it's not problematized properly. And you're correct when you talk about the emotional violence, which are the forms that are actually the soft forms that we hardly talk of. When we talk about gender-based violence, we talk about the physical violence and the sexual violence.
It's interesting that you call it the soft forms.
That is how people think of them, that they're softer than the hard ones, which is physical, because there are injuries that you can see. Whereas what we don't, what we actually fail to realize is that the unseen injuries are actually worse than the injuries that can be seen, because those that can be seen, we can easily deal with in terms of providing medication and what have you, because I'm from the Department of Health. But the soft ones, which are actually having a mental health impact, are long-lasting. And when they are long-lasting, they end up being generational, being passed on. So the one thing that we have to realize also, and we seem to be discounting that, is that we are a broken nation.
You see,
and that brokenness leads to toxic masculinity. It leads to toxic femininity. And these are also driving gender-based violence, because the language that we are using emanates from that toxicity, emanates from that lack of proper understanding of who we are as a people, not as a sex.
you know, I listened to, and you're correct, I listened to my children talk, right? Palisa sitting there at the back. Palisa and Tabuza always say, no, mommy, we are the weird ones here because there's certain things that will not be said and done in the space. But I see that it happens outside. So their friends, you know, will do something, and they'll be shocked, and they'll say, no. And I'll say, hold on, and what happened? No, mama, you are the weird one. You're the only one who would jump. So it then says to me that, and we are called strict. This is what happens. We are then called strict parents. Understand. But there's got to be more that we are doing. We've got to be okay with being called not understanding. We've got to be okay with understanding what violence is violence. We've also got to be very clear with understanding that if you are going to violate a 6-year-old child, that child is going to grow up traumatized. A broken child becomes a broken adult.
Yeah.
We need to understand that. Let's go.
Can I Mapaseka,
Yes,
just
yes,
mention this in passing?
Yes.
You cannot change what you tolerate.
Yay.
You cannot, you don't have, you know, somebody was talking about 3 H's, you know, the head, the heart, the hand. And if the hand has no head and no heart, you're wasting your time. And I'm just saying, we have normalized and tolerated nonsense.
Too much. Too much. And for too long.
Yes. And so there are, and somebody was talking about wounded nation. Some people do these things out of woundedness. Some do it out of fear, Mapaseka. And let's please accept you cannot give what you do not have.
So then it means we need to fill the young ones.
Yes.
With the right fuel. So that when they're older, they live what they grow.
But who's going to do that? Because if you don't live what you're saying, it doesn't hold water. And then the law tolerates these things. If you have networks amongst politicians and the rich and what, you can get away with violating. It can be in the media and social media and everything. You get away with it because you have the power.
Sure.
And we just tolerating this thing. And so allow me to say, by our silence, we are encouraging and contributing to this violence.
And this is why our silence has got to end. This is why it's got to end. Before I even welcome the next few people that would like to say something, we've got our next 2 speakers who are here. They will be joining us. Ntosh, are they joining us now? Okay. So how Ntosh, you need to tell me how we're going to do this. Is this way? Okay, so we need to have a wrap up. Bongani is staying with me. Mofokeng will wrap. Mbulelo will wrap, and then we'll welcome our next 2 guests. Let's take Nziki. All right, Nziki.
Thank you very much. You know, one of the things that I want to just bring to attention is that we are trying to have a conversation about emotional reactions from a rational point of view. When you are angry, all these beautiful things that we are saying fly out the window if you're not trained to handle them at that particular point in time. We are a country that is averse to healing. From the time when they said Truth and Reconciliation Commission, when we opened the can of worms, we said this is too ugly, let's close it and let's move on. We'll see what we do as a country.
And this is where the problem is. Let's welcome back our listeners who are listening to us on the Radio 2000 front, just on the radio front. Thank you very much for staying with us. And the news will be back again at 9 o'clock. And then Justice will join us just after 9 o'clock with the Mino on the violence. What's that? Mino on the violence just after 9 o'clock. And then the last bulletin will be at 10 o'clock. Let's continue, Nziki. We continue the conversation, just talking about how we can make things better. And the crux of what came out is that if you're going to live it when you're smaller, when you're going to put it into your children when they're smaller, they are going to live it when they're older, basically. They're basically going to bring out exactly what you put in. What you get in is what you get out. Garbage in, garbage out. That's what we're having. Nsiki?
Right. So just taking off from what we were saying,
Yes,
we
go.
have not learned how to heal. We don't go through healing processes. I don't know how many of us see someone for help. We think that just going out and chilling no Bongani and having a couple of beers is going to solve my problems emotionally. And then I find myself emotionally imbalanced. I come home to a wife who's not happy, and then she starts pointing at me and saying all the emasculating or demasculating things. Or is it emasculating? Emasculating. And then next thing you know, we're pointing each other in the foreheads, and then I lose my temper because I am not emotionally trained to handle that situation.
How many?
I haven't healed.
How many guys here go for therapy? There's a few guys. There's like, I mean, I've got 2, 4, 6.
And
8
it tends to
hands.
happen that way, that you're preaching to the choir normally when we come to these spaces.
But even then, this is 6 hands
yeah.
out of how many men? This is less than, 30% of the men that we have in here. That's worrying for me.
Yeah.
Already, because it says the healing that you're talking about, which is so very important,
Right.
is not going to happen. Can I ask that we ask Mbulelo to wrap up and Mofokeng to wrap up so that we can get our new guests, the different guests, and then we'll continue with.
Okay. Well, I think thank you for what you just said now. I think it just resonates with me, But what I would like to say from my side is that there are a number of instances and situations that we put ourselves in as men, which result in that emotional reaction that he has spoken about, which I think we can be able to handle if only we have the necessary guidance to make sure that we don't end up committing gender-based violence. We need to know those situations, including what he has mentioned. These are things that, for instance, I've written about in my book on gender-based violence around self-development for men. That we need to know of situations to avoid as men that would make sure that we do not commit gender-based violence. And when we see signs of such situations, already we are able to exit out of those situations so that we do not find ourselves, because I don't think as men we have the necessary emotional skills to deal with some of the issues that end up making us commit gender-based violence. So I think it's important for people that want to know, go to the book and then read it. You'll find self-development there.
All right, Mofokeng.
Let me just quote 3 things. One has to do with the healing of wounded tigers. I say manhood is an inside job. Let's do an inside service. Then you can expect outside healing where you normalize respect and detox the things that we're talking about. So I'm talking healing, I'm talking education or re-education, and I'm talking accountability.
Yeah.
Those of us who've grown up, let's just hold each other responsible, and let's not wait for the law or the family. Bruh, this is not on. And I start with me, and then wherever I have influence. That's it. The organizations can help. It's very easy and cheap to sign a petition and do nothing about this. Let's heal the man from inside out. Thanks.
Thank you very much. A round of applause, please, for Mofokeng and for Mbulelo. Thank you very much for joining us. Anhamba ngithi. All right, we continue the discussion, and let me welcome on stage. Please do come and join us, Dr. Gugulethu Xaba. Thank you very much, Mfundisi, for joining us, and also Anele Siswana, who's a clinical psychologist. Anele, ngathi ufuna ukusishaya namhlanje. Kwenze njani? Let's sit. Are we all right? Your mic is right next to you there. Okay, your mic is right next to you. You've got your mic. Okay, so we continue our discussion, and I'm going to ask our guests to just join in just quickly. Let me hear your point, after which then they will come in, and then I'm seeing you at the back. There's one more there, and there's one here. Okay.
Hi, good evening.
Hello, let's go.
Hi, good evening.
We can hear you.
Yes, awesome. I hear what all the gents are saying, and I hear your point where you're coming from.
Mm.
Now, I've got a simple question. Ingani uyayikhuza kanja? Because I think that is where the problem is. You say that we're all once children,
Mm.
and now we're grown up.
Yes.
Gender-based violence was not such a big thing pre-apartheid, or when you look at other African countries, right? When you look at culturally, ukuthi ingane ikhuzwa kanjani? When you do something wrong, this is how you need to make it right.
Sekhuluma.
So, manje, in the society that we're in, right, you have to understand we've got the letter gang. So gender-based violence is not just between man and woman. It's man, woman, man to man, woman to woman. It's broad, and what they say that it's a gray area.
And this is where they were saying violence.
It's just violence.
This is where they were saying
Yes.
this is violence.
So manje, how, if we can all teach ourselves on uti zokuzana kanjani, I think that's where the problem is. Uti, the panel was saying like you can point each other nomunwe kanje, right? But is that the way that simele sikuzana?
Why singakhulumi? Tell me that. Why is it so difficult for us to say lento yenzayo out?
I think it's
Lento yenzayo. Why can't I just say no, Bongani, this is nonsense. Stop it.
because I think that the time and age that we're in, look at yourself. You came from a telephone box to having a cell phone.
Sengimdala kangaka.
No. I'm just saying like all of us. I'm looking at all of us here. I'm looking at people that were born from the 80s.
That's violent.
See,
That's
or
very
Assis,
violent.
Assis.
How?
See, I'm just saying like from the people that are born from the 80s, they came from a telephone box, and in a short period of time, now we've got cell phones. We've got a child that knows more about your own cell phone than you do. They've got access to all this information. And I believe that once you understand ukuthi umuntu ukhuzwa kanjani, because I believe like from childhood, you said it yourself that we are the product of our childhood. So if you understand what ukhuzwa kanjani back then, with even with our children and with the generations going forth, the only one of the ways to stop gender-based violence or just violence in general is uti in the educational process uti sakuzana kanjani.
I think what we need to remember is that as parents, we are the constant in the family. So there may be YouTube and whatever, but you are the constant in the family. Therefore, you become the point of reference. So if they know etivi bate patuma ubaba, so it means as the constant, you need to be present. You can't just be constant and not be present. So you've got to be constant and present. And then siyakhuluma. So if the khuluming starts with no nana, that's not what we do. From amncane, it starts with pick up your plate. Take your plate, hambe uyowash. Especially as it's one thing yokuthi siwash izitsha in the evening, kudle everybody. But you've just come in, uzenzele a quick sandwich, and then ushi plate yakho lapho, who must take it? But those little things, if you teach your little boy that, under 6 years, trust and believe that when he is 35 and married, and he's just made himself a sandwich, he's going to stand up and go because he's used to it. Igojwa?
But I think as we go to the next segment, I think in the midst of this, we should not find or purport excuses. You know, Aspasi, that Jerry talks about a tiger. I think now Dubai has got more people having tigers than lions. Ne? And they've got these sticks that they have. It's an electric stick. Ne? If it behaves in a particular way, they go like, and then it comes back to line. Bangkula minekaya Aspasi. This. No, my mother bekakhuluma kakhulu, ne? Harshly. Now if you toilet you'd hear with la, ne? But if you are consistent, she was going to give you a hiding, a serious one, ne? So I knew ukuthi Apollo mayingakhanya ngisestradini, ne? I would run and pass 30 houses as passing. You'd swear I'm bald.
Yeah.
Ne? Rushing so that by the time she realizes what it's on, I'm at the gate. So I'm saying that in the midst of emotion, and this is me, and I think we've got a psychologist and so on, in the midst of us having to refer to psychological paths, you can be from your home. There are people who are raised by a drunkard, and the other brother decides that I'm not going to drink alcohol. It comes back to choices as past. And I think we should be able to say, what is our commitment as men who are sitting here, wounded as you are, unemployed as you are, cheated by your partner, displaced by your mother, denied by your father. What is your commitment?
To ending gender-based
To
violence.
ending.
Let's hear.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's on for you.
Thank you. Gugulethu Xaba. I think maybe one of the key issues which I've noticed, especially as a person who works at the varsity, who runs a church, is a community activist, it's that I think people think helping somebody is cheap. There is that sense that we do these once-off things, we have helped somebody. I've spoken to my younger cousin, I've helped. You have not helped that person. You've just raised the issue. If you want to really help somebody, especially another man, to change their mindset, you need to be prepared to take that person by their hand, spend your own resources, and spend more time, do it again and again and again and again until you see change. But if you think it's that boom, once-off type of things, those things don't work.
It's not as easy as that.
It's very detailed to help somebody.
Let me stop
you must be willing to be disappointed by that person again and again.
Let me stop you there. Can you believe it's time for another break? Yeah, no. It's time for another break. Let's do that. Take a quick one, and then we continue just after that. We can carry on, though, inside this forum. Anele, you need your mic. Okay, go on.
I'm a firm believer.
Guys, we're continuing.
I'm a firm believer and scholar of Judith Butler, who speaks about gender as performative.
Okay.
She speaks about gender performance and ideas of what we call troubling gender identities. And so the idea of categorizing genders creates the problem of power and all of these problematic notions. And against the ideas of what we understand of what hegemonic masculinity is. For me, as a black Xhosa man who happens to be a gay man, for as long as we still have practices such as an example of Luvalo Xhosa, that is not done in a way that then changes the psychology of this young boy to see and understand the world differently. What gender performance does, by virtue of taking this young man to initiation school and this problematized penis that somewhat, because it's circumcised, it gives him power in society. I problematize it because somewhat it's glorified because it's circumcised, then you somewhat have control and power, right? But the way that power is socialized in the life of this young man, there is no management of it. Now, you take this young man and you tell him, from day one you tell him, it's ndiyindoda. He's been told to say ndiyindoda. But there has not been so much that has been done to really change the psyche and the psychological understanding of how he has been socialized to see gender and perform gender. So a number of us as men, we are given by a society the tool of performing gender by virtue of this third leg that somewhat has a muscle that does magic.
The magic, yes. But hold on. Let's focus. Yeah, man. Let's come back. But I hear you. And the part that I'm hearing more is that, again, taking it back to the household, to where the boy child will be given more powers. Have you seen how the boy child will be allowed to do more than what the girl child is allowed to do? The other day, Palisa called out her dad and said, hold on. But Taboza can do 1, 2, and 3. Nah? And I was like, I was like, I'll be that bystander. I just want to see. But it was interesting that she sees it at her age. What was interesting for me is that the response was, we see you. That said to me, we are now saying to Palisa, you are worthy of this as well. So it means you're also teaching the girl child that they are equal to this man. When you get into a relationship with a man, you should be understanding that we are there to complement one another.
Okay.
Therefore, if we are to complement one another, I cannot be weaker than you. You cannot be weaker than me.
But I think we need to a certain extent, understand that while men and women are equal, but their responsibilities are different.
We are equal but different.
Because sometimes we tend to push the narrative of equality as if there's no difference. There is a difference between women and men. However, that difference does not say a woman is lower than a man. It only says a man plays a role. It's just like a role of a DJ, a role of a caretaker. They're different, but does not make these men not equal. So there is a different role, especially there's something that you should call the tension between love and respect, for instance. Women's needs are more about love, but men's needs are more about respect. Actually, the language of men of love is respect. When you respect a man, they think you actually love them.
Hold on.
So we need to understand that tension of love and respect.
Hold on. Let's come back. Let's come back just a tad bit. Hold on. Let's come back just a tad bit. Sure. Our equality does not mean that you do not have a role to play. Your role does not change. Sure. As much as my role does not change. And that should be standard. For sure. I should be able to love my partner and respect my partner. We are human. This whole thing, and we are full human beings. This whole expectation, and I don't want us to digress, but this whole the expectation that you can only do this and not the other is a bit of a problem for me. We need to bring it in together to say, I will love you, I will respect you, just as much as your wife. You will love me and you will respect me. Because if you love me but you don't respect me, there's a problem.
No,
if
that's
you
why
respect me and you don't
where
love
we
me.
miss the anatomy of how a man is created and how a woman is created.
Okay, hold on. Here's another show, Ntosh.
Sure.
The anatomy of how a man is created and how a woman is...
because it's not the same.
And how that goes into relationships. Pause that one.
For sure.
Let's take it to another... to a different show.
But can I give you a simple example?
Hold on. Before you do,
sure.
Before you give us a simple example, I want us to take the hands that we've got. And also, let's also start talking about solutions, please. Yeah. Can we talk about how... So we've got one that says language, how we talk, right? So we're talking solutions going forward. Let's hear. There's one here. He's been waiting for a while, guys. Hector Peterson.
No, Charlie.
Oh, Charlie. Oh, okay. Hold on.
Thank
Charlie?
you so much.
And then please don't take it from him because he needs to speak as well, and he needs to speak as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm the author of a few books, but I'm having one, SA Men Arise. So all the solutions are in here.
All of them?
Yeah. Yes, that we're discussing here.
Done.
Thank you so much. And the second point, I'm busy reading a book written by a woman. The title of the book is How to Destroy a Man. So we are also, guys, we plan and strategize how to destroy us. So we need to be aware of that. Yes.
What's her name?
Man, I'm struggling to open it here on my thingy, but I'll forward it to you.
No, don't.
How to destroy a man.
I don't want to destroy the man.
Most of the things that we see happening with innocent men, like he beat me up, he did this and did this, we are discussed and strategized.
But hold on, guys. That cannot be the be-all and end-all. There's books like, Steve Harvey was saying it? How Think Like a Man. There's people who will write silly books. There will be books on every subject. But that cannot be our stance on life. We cannot say, because they are writing these books, this is the end of us all. No,
and it's one person who wrote the book.
Let's say she is discussing you, not all of us. Just like in the book, if there's a part in the book where you say, let's hit them back, it's you. Do you understand?
But what's key is that, guys, there's hope for us. We can save this thing as men, as we come together and find consensus. Please get this book.
I need
Thank
solutions. Let's go to the back. Let's go to solutions. There's a man at the back. There's a guy at the back, guys. There's a guy at the back who's been waiting.
Oh.
At the back there, at the very back. Okay. While he's waiting, while he's getting the mic, go on.
Oh, Bua Abuti.
Hello.
Khoshi. Father
Go on,
rise.
go on.
Father figure.
Go on.
So I come from an organization, Father Figure, and we are very much solution-based. We're saying that we've heard society talking about GBV, and within our objectives, we don't have the word GBV there. We're based on solution-based. So we are shaping the ideal father, the ideal man for our society.
So what's your solution?
And encouraging a father's presence in a child's life. So I was saying to this gentleman, when you talk about GBV, we need to look at the transition of South Africa post-94.
Right.
From then, were men included in these transitions? Were men included in the transitions of saying that now I am leaving, I work, you are no longer going to be at home as well, you as the wife, you're going to go work as well. Were men included in these transitions?
Whoa. What do you mean? Were they were the ones discussing it?
No. Which men were discussing this with whom? For example, you mentioned something.
Are you telling me that we were sitting as women and we were saying, "Sis, you're manje"?
No. Who? It's based on maybe it's based on a political agenda. But let's talk about this. For example, I wish I would have made a comment on every point that these guys were saying. This gentleman mentioned something about men go to Tatibaji. I'm also a Xhosa man, and when we talk about this stuff, and we talk about this stuff as men, we discuss this as men. I recently met this lady. She says that she's married, happily married. She's got 2 daughters. She says to her husband, please take my daughters out for a dinner, for on a date, and this and that and that. And then she says he's happy. And I ask her, first thing as a man, all I know, all the men can vouch here. The first thing is that you don't teach your daughter to date. The first thing as a man is that you are protective about, I've got a baby girl, I'm very protective of her. So when you tell a man to teach the girl, this is your future boyfriend should be able to buy you roses. What if she meets one day a very loving man that only likes to hike? He doesn't like to go out on dates, but is very loving. So now you as a woman have conditioned this man to treat the child like this.
I want to hear you, but here's my problem with that.
One more point. Can I just make one more point? He mentioned as well is that we as Xhosa, we go to the bush. We need to look at the men as well that are looking after us there. The men that are looking after us there is the same man after the 5 weeks I come back that asked me for a 2 rand. Is that man teaching me anything while I'm there? So you've left your child in the bush and you expect this man to come back as a man.
So you're actually agreeing.
So me as a guy, what I'm saying is that, does he go back to go teach those boys? Him? Does he go back for a week? I do. Okay. I do go there and I speak, and I don't speak anything about what's happening there. I speak them about the connotations of life. This is what's going to happen when we go here forward.
Hold on. Let me just before you come in there, I think let's correct a few things. One woman that says, take my kids to buy them flowers, does not mean all women. 1. 2, some women might like those flowers. Some men might like buying them. Guys, we are different. Please, let's accept that there will be a different way that we will do things. And as much as I wake up and I say, this is how I like to do things, it's how I like to do them. I may meet a man who does not like to do things, but I can teach my man, this is what I like. As much as he's going to teach me, this is what I prefer. This is what we do together, but I still want us to solve GBV, and I think we're not solving it. Before we get there, your book, the book that you were talking about, it's actually an American book. It's a book teaching women how to destroy a man's reputation in corporate America. So that's problem number 1, yes. By filing false claims against him in a she's American? Artsura. Let's
and talking about corporate.
So she's
come, my brother.
Let's go there. Let's go to the back.
Sanibonani bazalwane. Angazi noma ngiyazwakala.
Yeah.
Niyaphila. Into esihluphile kakhulu thina singabantu ipressure. Ngifuna ukukhuluma nje isintu kahle khona sonke sikwazi ukuzwakala. Ipressure into esihluphayo. Lokuthi sihlala nabantu abangaphezulu kwethu ngokuqabanga nokwenza izinto bese sifuna ukuyifitha ezicathulweni zabo.
Kodwa kuyakukhulisa lokho.
Yes, kuyangikhulisa kodwa kuyangidestroy futhi at the end of the day. Ngoba ngicina ngithatha ngenza izinto ezirong ekungafanele ngabe ngiyasenza. Masikhula sikhule some of us sazi ukuthi ikhaya liyalungiswa. Abantu abadala bebalungisa ikhaya ukuze more especially bebathatha isithembu. Alungise umtholo omkhulu njengami mina ngivela esithenjini.
Ulungisa kanjani?
Yes, ngivela esithenjini. Ngifuna ukulungisa le ndaba leyo. Ngivela esithenjini. Umkhulu wayena amakhosikazi awu5. And kula makhosikazi awu5 wonke wayemlalela. Wonke wayewanelisa ngendlela efanele. Makuthiwa kuyoka gogo khulu yothe grocer uzothenga okufanana ngisho kwamamncane gogogo omncane. Wayengathi ngoba lona esincane akazana fanele ngimthengele okuhlukile kunalabo abanye. So igrocer yayifanana. Now sifika kule simo lesokuthi thina asikwazi ukulungisa lamakhaya ethu thina oswalungisayo. So sesenza izinto ezirong. Ingakho namuhla uthola ukuthi lento ngiyikhuluma nje ngipho lento yekorobela. Yenye yezinto ezimoshe le society esikiyo namuhla.
Ikorobela?
Yes.
Ikhona ora yikho.
Hold on, uthini ikorobela?
The love portion. Yiyo lento le.
Yenze ukuthi ushaye?
No. Ngicela ungilalele. Yiyo lento eyenze ukuthi namuhla le society esiphila kiyo ngabi ngalendlela ukuthi ngakhona.
You know, we had a very interesting conversation, Black Conversations, and we were talking about lento ekorobela.
Yes.
And very interestingly, iphume both ways.
Yeah.
I remember Felix Hlophe saying, "Ayibo, nam vele ngizomdlisa. Angiyami ngifuna ngithanda. So nani ngiyasloy." Hayi.
Yes.
Ayikho leyo. Kutsho waloya kama ki draw. So ki draw. Everybody waloya. Arutle kam.
Bengisengaqedi.
Bongakaqedi. Asiqede phela siqede isikhathi sethu sifishane.
Into ekhona ke namuhla ukuthi njengoba silungisana thina. Omunye lo lungisa omunye ugcina sekaba ngoyo umachuzo la ekhaya.
Silungisana kanjani mfethu? Sinikeze silungisana kanjani?
I want a solution.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
now silungisana kanjani?
Because here's my thing. Fixing the family home.
Yes.
Doesn't mean ungishaye.
Yeah.
And nestembu, if you choose that uzobe stengine,
yes,
not a problem.
Yes.
Mawusitshelile nami angithi ngavuma. Angengivuma.
Yeah.
No angengivume but ngisho ukuthi yabo
ala indlela lalekhiwa ngakhona lale abantu abat but ke now into esemoshe kakhulu ukuthi njengoba thi sesisebenzisa ngendlela wrong namuhla uthola ukuthi asihlonipha sengikwakhile
siyeke solution takababa siyeke
ithi isolution enginayo ithi ake simukeleni lokho sinako ungazama ukwakho umuntu okungafanele ngabuya makha.
Okay, so
singafaka love potion.
So Kokomaweni no more. Okay. No more Kokomaweni. I want to hear at the back there.
There's someone with a mic here.
Who's got a mic?
The gentleman.
Oh, go for it. We can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. My name is Usipo Dinabantu. One first needs to appreciate the opportunity given of being here in such a crucial and very important dialogue or a session.
Thank you.
I wish that this session can roll to all the corners of South Africa so that we discuss this issue, which is very, very, it's such a pain to us as South Africans. I mean, we have been dubbed the rape capital of the world, and then that does not sit well with me as a patriot of this country. Now, you asked the question as to we as men in our corners or where we gather, what do we discuss? What do we talk about? And then one of the problematic areas we face when it comes to this issue of GBV is this enticement of women, particularly the young ones, with us men, with our flashy cars, our bling bling, and the clothes that we wear. Because I think here, we as men, we must say no to this because most of the time it doesn't end well. After spending money and all that we have spent on this are women you were flaunting your materials to, you end up having expectations that late on you must have sex with this woman.
So
and then when this woman refuses to have sex with you, it does not end well. And then that is when the woman gets raped and all that.
So hold on, right there. The
Yes.
problem is not the flashy car.
Yes.
The problem is not, because those things you leave outside.
Yes.
The problem is that entitlement.
Yes.
That entitled mentality that because I can buy you a drink, therefore you have to sleep with me.
Exactly.
And therefore I want a solution. How do we stop that? How do we say to you, you with your flashy car, angifuni ukulala nawe, therefore ngeke.
I
should
think
be okay.
No, we need to talk about this as men in our corners. Like we should condemn this. It's
Okay.
totally not acceptable.
So what
and then
is-
my last point, before you come in our workplaces and in our businesses, we must make sure that we have policies such as sexual harassment policies, so that when issues of sexual harassment arise, then they are dealt with accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, let's take a break. Yeah, it's time for another break, guys. It's not me. Let's take a quick break. We continue just after. In fact, we'll continue. We'll carry on, but we'll be back just after this.
Yes, I think that's
Let
me.
me-
Yes, dumelang
I don't-
kaofela.
okay, there we go.
So now I'm from ke tlo bua ka generation A ya batjha, so I'm from VUT. There was this other girl nakim dating, and then this girl, we had a problem eleng gore exactly we address. And then she came to me and put hore, wena ha o shapeng pama tsa boyfriend tse ding o weak. You know what I mean? And then namo ke tswang teng, ke rutwe ka modimo pele.
So, umulahlile ke?
Ke mo lahlile.
Okay. No, that's
Ke
fine.
rutwe ka modimo pele, and ke rutwe hape ka tlung. And hape ke rutwa hape ka hore wa shapa ngwana ya tronkong. You know what I mean? So I feel like hona jwale we entertain dintho tse re tseba hore di gisa ntho tse wrong. We as the young people hona jwale ra tseba hore banana sense ba batla, you can date 5 girls as long as ba understand no ba fa ntho ba e batlang ha bana taba bona. And rona ga hola jwalo. So hona jwale ke batswadi ba dumellang bana ba etse dintho ba tshabang ba kgalmela. Sesotho se re thupa e kotlo sa le metsi ke sa dumela le bontate ba tshulong jwalo. If batswadi ba sa lokise hona jwalo, rona re kopana le ona no. There's no use of, there was a men's in Bizo ko Soweto. We invited so many gents, bana sa batlotla. So motho a sa batleng go change ha ona mthusa ka next.
But hold on. The change begins with you.
Yes.
So you, as a man, when that woman says, "Ha o nshapi," this is where you say, "Actually, this is not for me."
Yes.
Ha ho shapaniwi. And you leave her, so that she learns going forward, and you stop. And also, you tell your friends, "Hore, ha re shapaning," and we go on. So,
Yeah.
but well done to you. for
Yes,
Shapani.
thank you.
And in fact, to your background as well. You know, oh, who this thing when some
Good evening, Bakhaitsu. Nah, that's why I prefer standing up so that people
Okay.
can see me.
Ba o
I
bona
don't-
le mo radio-ong, go for
Ah,
it.
please, thank you. What are you doing? Yes. Yeah, can't be so Bakhaitsu. I think I like what Osman Paseka just said. Or it starts with you. Buntate, especially I'm going to talk about Buntate qualification. Normally, from us coming from the township, can we stop worshiping guys with money and all those things? Because normally most of them they do wrong things and we worship those things and then really promote because they're buying us alcohol. So that we can respect and love what we have. Because how long would we you love what and respect what you have, and then it becomes difficult for you who abuses the next person because you know where I can still get a sense of yeah, yes.
Lebohadi Kgalase, wonderful. Okay,
Hello,
let's go.
hello. Evening, everyone. Natebo Panda. I think the solution is, guys, we need to start being patient and communicate more. The tone of how you address things. The tone on how she addresses you in the house. The fact that you think someone is saying something which they're not saying. Explain more, question more. Babe, I hear what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, but I go to see. No, what I think that's where the solution comes with. The more we ask more questions, the more we'll understand. And the tone, when someone is up, come down and say, I know we're not fighting. Try to calm down a bit. Because I think in most cases why we get so upset and so angry is because we think our partners are saying something that they're not really saying that.
The assumption.
The assumption.
The assumption of what they should
Most
be
of our
saying.
relationships and making us to be violent because of we assume instead of us questioning and being patient and respecting the tone. Tone, how about your It's like you're fighting. What I'm just trying to say is what
So here's an interesting thing.
Thank you.
You know, I do relationship coaching. I had a couple come in, and they were talking about hore, harbuwa, you know, and I said to them, do a little exercise for me. Ha fight start. Whoever won, well na obona or no ikaria odi fight. Robala mfatsu mize mfatsu. Arobala mfatsu qoqa. And they said to me, the first time we did that, we laughed at each other. And I said to them, of course, calm down. You literally need to calm down. And if it means it has to be literal, then it means you can come back and talk. Because sharing things that you it's okay to disagree. In fact, it's necessary. It's actually very necessary to disagree. Because if you agree, if two of you are the same, one is unnecessary. So we need to do this, okay?
Dumela.
Hey.
Ke Papi Grasinyalo from South African Leadership Gentlemen's Club. As Mapaseka, to go straight to the point, about our end of this thing. One thing we should do, especially Rona Pan, are stopping or tolerate some other things we do. Simple. Right, girlfriend, you are married. You go out there, immediately you approach her, girlfriend almost side moto. Already you cause up violence. You need to stop approaching. Know your position, you are married. Very serious.
The only trick with that is that you might not know. How kopana lemoto asa kenya ring?
It takes an individual. It takes me, Papi Grasinyalo, to stand and say, Papi, you are married. Stop approaching.
Yes. So
it's done.
Now that is
teach
important.
Another man. It goes to another man. It goes like that to all men that are here. Let's try to do it like that. Then we are done. It's a solution to us.
I hear you.
There's no GBV. It's done.
And that's the solution. That also says to me, holding each other accountable. So that says to me, what if you're single? No. But if you're single, I need to share. That's fine. There's nothing. Hold on. Father figure, come back. Come back. The fact that you are single does not mean you stop to share. Like how single so you will share, but you will share another single person. That's okay. And and then you say okay, and you walk away, and you try again next door. That's as simple and but if you are married, you are right. You need to hold each other accountable. Halileko monating. Mona ayako uchorai pel. Uskalibala pel. Arsketsa so. Waba? Or and I can't don't do this. Absolutely, don't do this. Then you make it official. I'm dumping you now as my friend. This behavior, I'm not going to stand for. Yes? Let's come back here. We're missing your mic.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We're coming back.
I can hear all these things that we are suggesting in terms of changing behavior, but I think we're missing the key thing. The key thing is, why are we where we are? We are where we are because family collapsed. It collapsed because of mining and other things. We need to deliberately rebuild black African families. Our families, majority of them, have collapsed. So if we do not deliberately revive families, because a family is the institution of teaching and modeling behavior, teaching language, teaching discipline. If you want societies to be strong, to be better, you need to start in the family. Like I tell you, all men in Africa can behave well on the street if they don't behave well if they don't have families and structures where they can model and teach that behavior on day-to-day basis until it becomes natural. I hear you. So let's deliberately build families.
Agreed.
We need to deliberately challenge the culture of allowing just men to grow very old, just being single forever. At some stage, people must marry, build families, and deliberately model a behavior for the next generation.
Shatani.
To how many men here?
Guys, let's come back, please.
How many men here are in therapy?
I've asked that question. We've had about 6.
Okay, let me stand.
No, we've asked the question.
8, ne? Yeah. Okay, how many of you are in medical aids? Do you have medical aids? Right. Sure.
You mean
okay. unemployed graduate. I think for me, Sis Mapaseka, I wish for a world where a number of men, as much as they sign up to Vision Active, they will all sign up to a therapist. I have a privilege of working with old men who happens to be young boys inside. A lot of black men that I've been fortunate to work with, they have a lot of unresolved childhood-related traumas. And we don't know those traumas until something happens. You know, Mapaseka, the anger that men have when being by their partners, you see this behavioral thing that this person goes to an infantile position, that bayangala and all of that. But if you look at that behavior, it's a child that behaves in that way, right? And so if you can go deeper into asking ourselves, how far and what are the factors that have contributed to the way in how you see the world as a man? And until you understand that this thing that you have, a penis, doesn't somewhat comes with this erotic idea that you can control the world and deal with things.
Anele doesn't like penises. Anele, we need to take a break.
You ask me about what do I do about my work when it comes into Ulalugu. I personally do research and work through Ulalugu. What course? I have publications in that. But what I have intended to do is that I do work with the boys where I call all of them Namakangata to help them with a program of how to go about doing
Anele,
that.
I'm going to stop you there. Let's take a quick break. I love how you are so not for this penis.
I'm not for it.
You
and
are
not
like
because I'm gay.
No. But you're like anti penis. All right, let's take a
problem. It's a social construct.
All right,
it's
let's
very
take
problematic.
Let's take a quick break and we continue with the discussion. We can actually continue with the discussion as we go on. Hold on. Let's continue with the discussion. Let's take a point. Hold on. Was it? Okay. This. It's interesting. We've got a lady here. Okay. Let's hear what you've got to say.
Dumelang.
Hello.
My name is Mofokeng Mashitisho, and I'm a mother, a wife, and a published author of The Graveyards Are Full, which is a poetic dedication to victims of gender-based violence and those affected by it. So for me, as a woman, someone would expect me to speak for the women, but I speak for the whole community. Today's topic is the role of men in addressing and solving gender-based violence.
Yes.
So I think as a 90s kid, we are lucky because we have a bridge of the old generation and the new generation. We were not friends with our parents, but we have the liberty to speak with our kids. So as a mother, as a sister, as a woman, I think the first solution is allow men to cry. Allow men to speak and to feel.
So allow men to have emotions.
Yes, let's allow them to speak. There's a piece that I'd like to read. It says, I weep for my brothers. I weep for the silent cries that they cannot hold anymore. Help the boy child. Help the man. Allow him to speak out. Allow him to be heard, to be seen. Nurture him into the greatness that he's meant to be. Talk him out of his suicidal thoughts. Pull him out of his depression. Give him flowers. Give them flowers. Give men flowers, they deserve them too. Tell them we love them. Tell them they are enough. Tell them it's okay to hate and to talk about it. Tell them to cry and hug them. Please, yes, tell men it's okay to cry. Tell the big men with muscles it's okay to cry. Allow them to weep for themselves and give them safe spaces to heal.
Okay.
And on their journey to healing, give them flowers. Give men flowers.
Very important.
And another solution that I think we need 365 days of activism against gender-based violence.
I agree, totally. Against violence.
Against all violence.
All right.
Thank
Let's
you.
go. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Yeah, go for it.
so also part of the solution. So, gents, this is a solution that I would also like to put out there. We know, Uti, right now, sports, arts and culture is no longer part of our schools. In Molokshini, we don't have sports anymore, and that's when we learned our strength. How strong another boy is or another man is, I learned it through sports, whether it was kickboxing, whether it was rugby, whether it was basketball. I learned something about another man, and I also learned about my own strength. And I also learned how to control my strength from that.
Just interestingly, that's a form of therapy.
That is also a form of therapy, yes. So what we need now is to get up and start coaching. Whatever coaching, whatever sports that you are doing, start something. There's money from the Lotto. They sponsor sporting codes. Okay, try. We know the country.
You
we're
lost
living
us
in.
there when you said money from the Lotto.
Yeah, I know.
We were fine, and then you said money from the Lotto.
But what I'm saying is, let's bring back the culture of sports. Because the discipline that we have, most of us, we got it from sports.
Okay.
Sure. If it wasn't church, it was sports.
Got you there.
Sure. So let's
All
bring
right.
it back.
At the back there, have you got a? Okay, you've got a mic here.
Yeah.
While that mic is going to the back, let's hear you here in front.
Okay. I'm going to sponsor 2 solutions.
Okay.
The others have been sponsored already. The first one is to deal with our miseducation, especially about our anatomical differences. That those anatomical differences do not necessarily mean that one is superior to the other. Even within the same sex, we have differences.
Right.
And we need to acknowledge that. Secondly is for us to also start holding each other, like it was said earlier on, holding each other accountable through consequence enforcement. We should stop applauding negative behavior.
Nonsense.
And
Silly
nonsense.
behavior.
Yeah,
Nonsense.
stop. Even in the media, all over where you go, you'll find that when someone has done something negative, they get, front page.
Problem is
But
there by that X place.
Yeah, that X place.
That X
Two,
place
I
is-
mean, we know in certain countries that X place is being controlled properly, not to miseducate the society.
For reasons that are very clear. Okay, thank you very much. Let me go to the back there.
Thank you for the opportunity. I think not enough good men are portrayed in our media space. So we see a lot of these negative stories. We see a lot of these topless men. One night they're at some place, the other they trending all over. But good men are not trending enough. I mean, if you go out there and you want to find a father, you want to find a good community member as a male, not enough of them are celebrated. As the lady said, give them their flowers. It's what I believe, that there are good men still that are out there, and those men should be praised for the good that they are doing.
Sure.
Thank you very much. You know, we also need to remember that a lot of the times, hurt people. Okay? So if we can break the hurt, we are working on something. We need to wrap it up, but I want to wrap it up with our guests. Let me start with you, Bongani.
I'll be the last one.
Hold on.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to come and share ideas. May we do these, spread them everywhere where we are. I believe, number one, family is key. Number two, what's important, education. We need to get more men educated. The reason why men are not getting opportunities is that most of them are not educated. As a result, most women are educated. As a result, they take opportunities. Thus, we begin to be hurt. Number three, I think it's spirituality. Psychology is good. I use a psychologist just to test my ideas all the time.
So you don't go for therapy, you just test your ideas.
I just test my, and I like therapy. I take it serious, but I also know that my secrets are not going to be told to anybody else, or I'm going to sue her. So it's a safe space. So, but lastly, I think men should occupy the spirituality space. Whatever you believe, it's spiritual. We see less and less of men being in the center of the spiritual health of a nation. We need more men leading, because you are a man, you are a prophet, you are a priest in your house, but most men are not. So as a result, many people have occupied that space, sometimes taking it to a wrong space, but it depends on how you view that space. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Wrap it up for us, Anele.
I think my wish is for a gender fluid kind of approach that we can teach our children. You know, there's something inherently beautiful about teaching a child a genderless way of looking at the world. I mean, that way for me, it really helps us to understand that idea of teaching a child to be human. This boy will understand that I'm just human beyond anything else. But I think also what we need to do is to really focus more on the redefinitions of masculinity and moved more to the idea of masculinities. I mean, I, as a gay man, I do not subscribe to most of the normative ways of what it means to be a man, right? And society doesn't have a language for me.
Do you have a language?
I do have a language
for self?
for my own affirming language that helps me to navigate the world. But even with the idea of gender-based violence, there's some kind of a neglect of other gender identities and sexualities, and what my brother was saying about all of these things are not homogeneous, and how they present themselves in different identities. But I think for me, I think we needed a more of a holistic view of redefining what masculinity is, because the current state of masculinity is highly problematized, and there's no solution for it. And more research, evidence-based. We can talk about these things, but a number of them, they need evidence.
Sure. You know, the evidence is there.
Not so much, actually. From my stand as a researcher in that.
Maybe that's what you mean by the evidence in terms of
yes, evidence-based work that helps us to redefine and rethink our interventions around gender-based violence.
All right, Bongani?
If this is the country we are living in, the question should be, do you want our kids to inherit the same society? After all has been said and done, that's the question we should genuinely answer.
And the answer is no, a resounding no.
Sure. So, as we go off air, let's continue with the conversation.
Just for a few minutes, yeah.
Let's continue. There's food, there's drinks.
Just to our listeners, we want to say thank you very much for joining us. It is 9 o'clock and time for the news. After the news, just as will take over on air on Radio 2000. And he will take over with a Mino. We can continue for a few more minutes just to wrap up our discussion here. We just don't want to just leave it like that. Thank you very much. Take it away, the news. Let's go on.
All right. I like what the brother said, that he's got a group of men that he's associated with, and there was so much anger that comes from the childhood. It goes back to what I was saying earlier on. I think that's where the problem
But tell
is.
us, how do we kuza? You've been asking the question. Tell us.
So when I
how do you see
what I'm trying to say to you, like, no, please don't laugh. Please don't laugh.
Hold on, guys. Hold on,
No,
please.
hold on. I'm a foreigner. I'm from Zim.
Okay.
Okay. And how we're taught on our side, right? Like before I came to South Africa, right? Is that we are all equal mentally. Physically, we're not equal because there's certain things that a man can do and certain things that a woman cannot do, right? Which it's just normal and
But I want to understand the Sikuza Ganjani question.
Yes.
Okay. A girl cannot sit with the legs open like a boy can.
So
that's number one. No, I'm just saying it to you. A girl cannot sit with the legs open just like a boy can. That's number one. Right? So it starts off with those little simple things as we move up.
Right there.
Yes.
Why not?
Yes.
Why not? It's genitalia. It is there. It is normal. I
And
have it.
I was
You
passing-
have it.
I was passing- I was passing-
So now wait. No.
I was passing-
Hear me out. Hold
Can
on.
I say it for you?
Hold on. Hear me
Then
out.
When it says from a man, guys, you see, and it's one of the things that we fail to want to call each other to order. The visibility of a nipple, a breast, and a vagina, and the buttocks of a woman has always been part and parcel of a societal discourse. This thing that got our minds so erected that we can't call each other and say we are wrong. My daughter must sit freely. If my daughter wants to sit like this on a couch, as much as I sit like that, she must. Not because of Uncle Ntsigi is going to rape her or find her attractive. It's these things that we must call out amongst ourselves. A daughter can't sit like a coconut, but it's a wrong idea, my brother.
I don't want
And that's
us to
why we are
psychologically
finding ourselves.
we are
Let me
equal.
finish, my brother. Let me finish. And you kept on emphasizing on the question, "Sikhuza kanjani ngani?" And I'm saying, if we continue the way we are doing things right now, and I can tell you, half of the teachings in ZIMS do not agree with this. A girl child, a woman, an aunt, and a grandmother is respected first as a human being. And that's the message we need to preach to each other and have it in our thick skulls that it doesn't mean because of when I pee, I stand straight, and when she pees, she sits down. It makes her more vulnerable than I am.
You know, yeah, this penis is the problem.
This is what I said to you.
You know, let's hold on.
This is what
hold
I
on.
said to you, like psychologically.
Hold on.
Psychologically, but we are equal. Psychologically, we are equal. I agree with you 100%. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you 100%. Psychologically, we are equal, but
let's get
physically,
to the point.
we're not equal.
But get to the point. Let's
So
get to the point.
What mangicho uti ingani kuzo kanjani? Like back in the days, uti when the example that I gave uti, all right, a girl cannot see like this because of how this has been happening over 1,000 years of how women have been sexualized, how men have been sexualized.
And that is wrong.
So
that's the patriarchy.
Yeah, it is patriarchy, unfortunately. But then we're at a situation where we're trying to correct that patriarchy. We're trying to correct all these behaviors.
Maybe the question should be, uyikhuza kanjani indoda? My brother, indoda siyikhuza kanjani? I think that should be the question.
Yes.
Indoda siyikhuza kanjani?
No, but hold on. You know, I think we need to be very clear. We need to stop sexualizing even young girls. Because if you are saying, "Ukuthi umntwana omncane makahleli," you know, a 5-year-old sitting, "Ukuthi uhleli kanjani," why are you looking there and thinking anything sexual?
Mara,
this is a child.
Can I check something? You know, the more we're having these abstract conversations, it worries me when we are trying to address the world that is not there yet. We need to be careful. These liberal ideas, like Bongani is saying, my daughter can sit anyhow. You need to also privately tell your daughter there's men who are not thinking like daddy.
Yeah, we also need to tell those men, don't come into my
No.
house if
We
that's how
are
you're
calling
thinking.
the men to order, I agree. But you must also care about the safety of your children. You
No,
can't.
that's of utmost importance.
That's why ukuzwa umntwana, it's important.
Lalela.
It does not mean mom kuza umntwana in the house. You're actually saying this world is not there.
But hold on.
There is an ideal world that we all aspire to have.
Dr. Kuku, hold on, Gancane.
Yes, please.
At this point, we also need to be very, very clear of something else. You know, we are very quick to remind, for example, the girl child. Ukuthi, uncle banbani magakhona, ungagcoki kanje. We are not saying, uncle banban, umntanam lo gugubola. Therefore, gugubola, let this child
But
be.
here's something that I always teach students at the university, something that I call a switch. Young people must learn, men must learn, girls must learn how to switch. Like masekas, sikhuluma ilanguage namajita. Masina abanye abantu, sichinchi language lala ubantu labo. So, it's not acting, it's understanding the world as it is.
Reading the room.
So, we must teach our kids to read the room and know how to behave where. Because if they're going to go, we've seen a lot of our students, people were asking why is there so much GBV violence at universities. It's because of certain kids who have not been properly prepared for the real world. For the real world. Both boys and girls.
Okay.
Actually, last week we were talking about a boy who has disappeared because of those things. There's a lot of young kids who are homosexual, who are being like gender-based violenced by their partners who are older than them, but they don't talk about it.
So I need us to talk, and we are wrapping up, right? So in our wrapping up, I need us to finish up on the solutions, right? Especially because we are talking about ekasi, and we should be allowed to do this.
I'm saying train the girls and the boys for the real world.
No, I'm saying this real
So the real
world
world is where women are being butchered.
No. The real world is
Penises go
there's
to
good
their
people
thighs.
and there's bad people.
Wait. Come on. Guys, can we calm down? Can we calm down? We need to learn. Hold on. We need to learn how to act as adults. And part of learning how to act is when to talk. This is not your time. Shush. Thanks. Yeah.
That's a mic. Thanks for wanting to give me a mic. As part of what we do in the Department of Health, as I said, I come from the Department of Health and I'm responsible for clinical forensic medical services. Is one of the questions that we keep asking our clinicians who see some of, that's also where I started, some of the, the worst things that have happened to people who have suffered GBV is whose behavior actually has to change, because GBV is a behavioral thing. It starts with behavior, and that is why Tsepo was earlier on saying we start with language, because language is actually the cornerstone of socialization. That's where socialization starts. So the behavior that needs to change is the behavior of the perpetrator.
That's very, very important.
That is the behavior of the perpetrator. So we need to put much more emphasis on perpetrator behavior than we're putting on victim behavior, because we're just perpetuating, because we're saying to the victim, like when you say, my girl child must close her legs when she sits, she's not the one who is wrong. The person who is wrong is that pervert.
It's that whole behavior of as a woman, you must dress ganji, otherwise rape. No, don't do that. We need to wrap it up, guys. We've literally got a minute, because we actually need to wrap it up for our YouTube guys as well.
Yeah, in wrapping up.
So what we've adopted from the Department of Health was they've got a program known as the first 1,000 days of a child's life.
We need to be quick.
Okay. So that's from point of conception, that day of fun, up to the first 2 years.
Right.
A father's presence is very important in that time, in there, because a child knows you while they're still in the womb. So when a child grows up, so when a child comes out and the child knows you already who you are, when you think a child needs you when they become a toddler, but the child can already recognize you. So as a father and a mother being there, both of you are very important, because the character of a child, whether it's a boy or a girl, it's actually mimicked from the father.
So
because
presence.
It's the father so presence is very crucial in a child's life, especially
from
a man. Especially from the men.
Got you there. We need to wrap it up. I'm going to ask
just
you
in wrapping it up quickly, can we do both things then? Can we come in the middle point? Can we stop the perpetrator and protect the child?
Yes.
Can we teach the child to protect themselves so that when you're not there, they know how to behave in a way that they can avert
safety first.
Safety first, so they can avert problems when you're not there. And then the second one, can we talk to our brothers so that they stop doing what they're doing to kids? That way, we've got a holistic system where we're not giving the responsibility to one person or the other.
All right, guys, I think we're going to need to wrap it up. This is how we come to the end of this discussion. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our panel. Thank you very much for making time to join us. Thank you to you, our guests as well, for being here. Appreciate your comments. And I think the most important part that we're learning here is that the changes that we need to make actually start with us. Actually, let me rephrase. Start with you, men. So, and with us, all of us. So number one, language. Very, very important. It needs to change. Presence. Very, very important. How we talk to our children when we talk. So reading the room and teaching them how to understand where they are, where we are. And again, walking away from these things that have been, that we seem to look at and say, but this is how it's always been. Because how it's always been has not served us. We are here today because of how it's always been. So we need to make a difference. Thank you very much for making time for us. There's still drinks and food and time to chat. And actually, we can continue this discussion.